Boeing's Starliner spacecraft has been more star-crossed than Starliner. But now, after a troubled history, it is set finally to carry NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams to the International Space Station.
We also are a part of those Americans that are thrilled to be at this point.
The spacecraft's pretty unique. It is a great amount of automation, and that's the goal that we want spacecraft to be in our future, to just make sure that they're all automated. But the crew is sort of the last line of defense, and we have the ability to get in there and fly manually if we need to.
Getting to this point has been nothing less than painful.
Liftoff.
In December of 2019, an uncrewed Boeing Starliner spacecraft lifted off atop an Atlas V rocket from Cape Canaveral. The flight test was supposed to pave the way for astronaut flights to the station, but it did not go as planned. Not at all.
And the orbital insertion burn has been delayed. Controllers are watching the attitude of Starliner.
Software issues cut short the flight. Starliner returned safely to Earth, but never made it to the station. It took more than 2 years before the Starliner would fly again.
Status check.
Go Atlas. Go Centaur.
Go Starliner.
This time, the uncrewed vehicle made it to the ISS and returned safely.
And touchdown, Starliner. We're touching down in the desert of New Mexico.
It's great to have this incredible test flight behind us. The test flight was extremely successful. We met all the mission objectives.
At first blush, it certainly seemed that way, but as the saying goes, upon further review, there were issues. Part of the parachute system didn't meet safety specifications, and it turned out flammable tape was wrapped around wiring bundles. Some 4,300 feet of P213 tape was removed. With all that behind Boeing, NASA has signed off on Starliner's first crew test flight. The journey has been a long one.
Unlike the SpaceX Crew Dragon, which lands in the water, the Starliner spacecraft will return to Earth under parachutes, landing at White Sands, New Mexico. And there is another player about to make its first flight, Sierra Space's Dreamchaser, a winged vehicle that will land on the runway at the Kennedy Space Center.
Dreamchaser looks a lot like a miniature space shuttle orbiter. On its first test flight, the uncrewed Dreamchaser named Tenacity will lift off atop the new Vulcan rocket. Once in orbit, the vehicle with its attached cargo module will head to the International Space Station filled with 7,800 pounds of supplies. Future flights will carry more. Tenacity, after all the cargo is unloaded, will head back to Earth for the first landing of a spacecraft at the Kennedy runway since the last space shuttle in 2011. The advantage the spaceplane has, the company's CEO says, is that it can land on any runway that can accommodate a 737 MAX jetliner.
So we're working with companies in Tokyo, so we can take off in Tokyo, land at Narita Airport. We're doing the same thing in Europe. We're focused on doing the same thing in the Middle East. We can already land in Huntsville, Alabama, and New Mexico. This is the advantage of having a space plane in a space line instead of taking a capsule and plunging it back into an ocean for a salt bath.
Getting to this point has taken 15 years between design, building, and rigorous testing. One of those tests, appropriately called the Shaker, shook the vehicle for 1.5 minutes simulating how the wing's nose rudder will handle the rocket ride to space.
90 hertz, 95, 100 hertz, normal end of test.
Woo! Watching the ship shake was terrifying. As someone who's been a part of it for so long, like actually seeing it all together and shaking, it was just the full 90 seconds I didn't breathe.
Sierra Space is under contract with NASA for at least 6 flights to the ISS. Just cargo, no people. The company says a human-rated version of Dreamchaser could be ready to fly in 2026. A successful first test flight would open the door for a new generation of space planes. For MyRadar, I'm John Zarrella.
Follow MyRadar on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Download MyRadar on iOS, Android, Amazon Alexa, Xbox, and Windows.